Hello and welcome to this video on creating assessments in Schoology. I am Kyle Krenz, a technology integrationist with SWWC. In this video, we will focus on how to create assessments in Schoology and what tools and features can be found within this. To create an assessment, you will need to select a course to work with within Schoology. Then click on the Add Materials button. From there, a drop-down menu will appear. You will need to click on Add Assessment. A window will open in which you will need to input a title, due date, total point value, enable or disable submissions, categorize assessment into grading categories, and placing it into a grading period. At the bottom of the window, you can assign the assessment to individual students, which works well if you have multiple versions of the same quiz or test. You can also publish and unpublish the assessment so students can either access or not be able to access the assessment. Finally, you can choose to include this in the grade calculation. Once you have these set to your liking, click the Create button on the bottom of the window. Once you click Create, the page will change, in which you will input and change the setup options for your assessment. On this page, you will create instructions for your students, input settings pertaining to the number of submissions, time limits, and which tools students will have in order to complete the assessment. Every teacher will need to set these to their preferences for their content areas and the grade and ability levels of their students. Next, you will need to click on the questions header from the top of the page. The page will change, and here is where you will create your questions for your assessment. On the left-hand side of the screens, there are numerous question type options for you to choose from to create from. I will focus on two interesting question types, the first being Highlight Image question type. By clicking on this question type, the page will change. In the question box, insert the question on what you want the students to highlight on your uploaded image. Then, upload your image. In my example, I am having students highlight the outline of the state of Minnesota. You have the ability to preview the question from what the students will see by clicking on the Preview Question button on the right side of the screen. If you are satisfied with the question, you can click the Save button, and this question will be added to your question set. The other question type I will focus on is the Highlight Text question. You can select this from the menu of question types. Once you do, the page will change. Here you will input your question and text for students to read and work with. In my example, I inputted a question and a simple sentence text for students to work with. If you click the Possible Answers heading, here you can select word, sentence, or paragraph. This divides your text into possible answers for your students to identify and highlight. In my example, I asked students to identify the noun in the sentence example, so I selected word as my possible answers. Then in the correct answer setup box, you can click on which word the correct answer is by clicking on it. You then select if students can highlight the answer for full or partial credit. You are able to click the Preview Question button to see what this question will look like for students. You can then go back to edit the question or click the Save button. This will add the question to your question set. Once students have submitted responses, you have the option to click the Grade header to access submissions to grade responses either by individual question or by individual student submissions. Note you would only need to grade if you have generated questions that require manually checking for responses. Feel free to use this type of question along with all the other question types that fit your students and content area. Once you have created all the questions for your assessment, you can click out of the quiz and head back into your Schoology course, and you can see your built assessment. You are able to edit it at your convenience and unpublish it if you do not want students to access it. I hope you have enjoyed this video on creating assessments in Schoology. I hope this benefits you in creating question sets that assess your students' knowledge and skills for their age level and content type. You can find other videos like this one by visiting and subscribing to our YouTube channel, SWWC Technology Integration Team. Thank you again for your time and attention.